diggity, diggity dog. Breaking, diggity, diggity dog. Breaking.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Branded MMA Show brought to you by GiftJiff. Today is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. I'm your host, Chavy, joined as always by the number one ginger covering MMA, Keith Walsh, and the man behind the hit MMA movie, Here Comes the Boom, Ryan McCarthy. Guys, it's Boston's playing tonight. It's a Monday. We record the night before we release. So Mac is going to be here for a little bit. So he's amped up right now. So that's why you heard the clapping just a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you guys won't be clapping when we get into our first story here. Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, a.k.a. the Hugfest of 2021. Mac, I know you wanted to talk about this first. You said as a Logan Paul stan supporter, this is something you really wanted to just hammer down here before you signed off a little early tonight. So, Mac, let's start with you. Thoughts on the fight? Thoughts on the exhibition.
Yep. Yeah, exhibition. That's right. Yeah, not a fight. Really was a glorified sparring session. I mean, that's in every sense the word. That is what that was. It was disappointing. I think Floyd wasn't trying very hard, to be honest with you. I think if he really wanted to finish Logan with a body shot, he probably could have. But Floyd's old. I mean, he's 44 years old. Logan's 26. So big difference in that. Big difference in weight. I think Logan had 35 pounds on him or something. 33 maybe, something like that. So there's weight classes for a reason. It's not easy to knock someone out that's way bigger than you. So there's that aspect. I do believe, though, in my heart of hearts, that Floyd probably was obviously not giving his all. This was kind of just like a game for him, really just a, certified bank robbery, like you said. I don't think he said he didn't train too hard. I think he trained like every other day, he said, while Logan was probably training all day, every day, as he should have been. So, props to Logan for hanging in 8 rounds. I mean, that's not easy with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd puts the pace on. He's obviously one of the greatest we've ever seen, and Logan held his own for 8 rounds. Pretty surprisingly. I mean, the stamina was there. I don't know anyone that could do 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather without gassing out like that. So it is interesting to see that. I think, Floyd kind of nailed it. Logan probably surprised him a little. I think he surprised a lot of boxing and MMA people. So it wasn't the best thing. I'd probably, at the end of the day, probably wasn't the best thing for the sport. I think most people would agree on that. Although it does show, I think it does bring up the topic of money, and that these athletes need to be getting paid a lot more than they are, especially in the UFC. They're really risking their lives in that cage. And when you see Floyd get $100 million guaranteed, pretty much, or I think he made $100 million, not guaranteed, but he made $100 million last night, or close to it. Logan didn't make that much, obviously, but it's an exhibition fight, and Floyd had probably a 0%, maybe a 1% chance of getting knocked out in that fight. So, it does bring up the money topic, and I think that's a positive, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If there's any positives to be taken away, it is the money topic with the UFC, MMA, and whatnot, the boxers even, and it's a weird event, man. It was weird, very weird.
Yeah, it just sucks that Jake Paul is like the guy. I genuinely believe there's no sincerity behind what he's saying about fighter pay. I don't think there's. I think it's just a way to rile up Dana White because he knows that's gonna twist. It's gonna piss him off. So there's no sincerity behind that. I mean, you can look at the track record that Jake Paul has had with like the way he's treated subordinates and his that vlog house or whatever. Those horror stories coming out about how he treats people. So I think this doesn't come from a place of sincerity. This comes from a place of trolling, which is what he's doing, and it works. It works for him. I don't want to say that that this kind of any press is good press. It doesn't work for the Paul brothers. It does, and I hate that it works for them, makes them relevant. So, but here we are talking about them. But yeah, like I said, it was a glorified boxing or sparring match, and I think Walsh is probably going to be in the same boat here. It's probably hit the nail on the head.
You know, I'm not a big Stephen A. Smith fan, but I'm going to go full Stephen A. Smith here. This is a travesty. It's an absolute disgrace to the sport of boxing. Jake Paul is a fucking clown. If you paid money to watch this, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I had it on in the background as I was playing video games. I have 2 TVs in my living room, no big deal. So I'm playing video games and having the fight on, and it's just like I couldn't even pay attention to it. Like, it was just so stupid, and I hate that there was one part of it where Floyd like actually really caught him, and it looked like it. Like, I was like, oh shit, like he might actually knock him out and finish him, and then he just didn't. And I was like, see, this is why I don't like this shit.
Yeah,
like Floyd easily could have just knocked him out with one punch, and now today, instead of everyone laughing at the Paul brothers because his ass got knocked out, people are talking about, oh, wow, well, he went 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. One of the greatest.
But
no, he didn't. No. Floyd didn't do shit.
Right.
Like, it's so frustrating. And,
but I'm gonna let you go continue here in a sec here, Walsh. But to really get back to what you said here about Mayweather not doing anything, most of the rounds he landed single-digit punches, and he threw just into the double-digit amount of punches for those rounds. So he actually threw 14 jabs the entire fight, landed 7 of them, landed 36 of 93 on his power punches for a grand total of 43 punches landed and 107 thrown across 8 rounds. I mean, that's absurd.
Dumb. It's absolutely dumb. And it's just, look, Floyd obviously did it because he got paid what he got paid. I would do it, for $100 million. Anyone would do it for $100 million. You'd be stupid not to. But the fact that we're giving attention to this is what it bothers me so goddamn much. I absolutely hate both of the Paul brothers, and it's just I know they're never going to fight an actual boxer, either one of them.
Yeah.
But the day hopefully will come that they just get their asses knocked out, and I will stomp all over their graves. I will piss on them. I will light it on fire. I will be probably one of the happiest people in the world if both of them hopefully get knocked out, because these 2 clowns fucking suck.
Yeah. They do.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that it's odds are if they keep doing this, which all signs point that they probably will keep fighting. I mean, they're very young. Logan's a couple years older than Jake, so they're gonna get knocked out. I would assume that happens to both of them. For sure, Jake, if he wanders into the boxing realm. If he fights Tommy Fury, I mean, he's going to get fucked up.
But
when it comes to Tyron Woodley, I'm not too sure. I think it could be close. But
and I'm glad you brought up Woodley here, because I brought this up in our Branded Sports group chat today. I said if Tyron Woodley comes out like he did against Vincente Luque, he might have a shot, because he came out guns blazing for the first time in a long time in that fight. If that's how he comes out for that, I can see him catching Jake and knocking him out. But then again, we don't know what Tyron Woodley's going to step into that boxing ring in August. And to get back to what you said, Mac, about these guys keep going into the boxing world deeper and deeper, I just think they're just going to keep. I think the second they get to where the competition has to get higher, where they're fighting whether it's UFC fighters, former boxing champions, whatever, I think once they reach I don't want to say a peak, but once they reach they plateau in that, where it's either they have to fight better people or just not box. I think it's when they flip over into the exhibition more against your Nate Robinson type deals or your other YouTubers, because I think these guys just have too much. I don't even know, machismo, bravado, whatever the word is. They have too much of that to let their egos will not let them get knocked out. So I think that's why we're seeing these cherry-picked fights. I mean, it's very obvious.
I think that's possible. I do. It's hard to tell what they're planning. I mean, I don't know. It is frustrating though. It's I mean, everyone's talking about it. It's not just us, right? We're talking about it because everyone else is talking about it. I mean, they're talking about it on ESPN. It's fucking ridiculous. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I get it. It is attention. Like, you're gonna get eyes on your product, regardless of, like, you're talking about it on your sports show, whatever. But I just cannot believe if people actually came into this and did like an ounce of research, they would have known this fight was never gonna end in a knockout. If anyone thought Logan Paul, like the bookies that had it, like Logan Paul knocking him out, I'm pretty sure I heard people betting on that. That was, you might as well just lit your money on fire, because. And it's smart on Showtime and Box and like who all put together, the promoters, how they did this fight, because they said, oh, well, no winners will be announced, but knockouts are allowed. It's like, okay, do you really think if they're not going to announce a winner, why would you go for a knockout? Yeah. Like, what do you get from that? There's like, they knew what they were doing. They said they basically come out and said there's going to be no winner in this fight, and everyone glossed over it because they saw, but knockouts are allowed. And it's like, they're allowed, but are they going to go for them? Probably not. So the only consolation if you wasted money on this is that Floyd had swindled you for $50 instead of $100 or $80, because we've seen fights before where he's been he's one of the greatest defensive boxers of all time, which does not translate usually to fight of the year contenders. But we've seen him do this before, whether it was Canelo Alvarez fight, which I believe was $80 or $90. You've been screwed out of your money in those fights. At least this one was only $50.
Yeah, and don't forget he got Canelo when Canelo was very young. He picked and chose when to fight Canelo because he knew Canelo was coming for that ass.
Oh yeah, he did.
If Canelo fought him at this time, he would win for sure, I think.
Yeah, and that's one of the downsides of boxing. It's
very unfortunate.
One of the great things is the fighter pay, but also one of the bad things is the fighters are the fighters rule the boxing world, and it's like there should be a little bit more balance. Like, perfect example is Tyson Fury was ready to box Anthony Joshua, and it was written into the contract that regardless of how the second fight went with Deontay Wilder, there was a third fight. That was like he was going to invoke that clause, or he was going to get paid so much just to not take the fight. It's frustrating as a fan because if you saw that in the UFC, you would absolutely lose your mind.
Yeah,
I think go back to fighter pay. I think there does need to be more going to the UFC fighters, but at the same time, I think hopefully we don't get to that point where it is in boxing, where it's like we are literally having divisions and super fights log jammed because people are just avoiding fights.
I agree. Yeah, boxing's had this issue, right, for basically, as long as we've been, watching it. So it's very unfortunate, and it's really hurt the sport, in my opinion. I don't know who would say that last night was good for the sport. I can't imagine anyone that really loves boxing or is into it. Besides the pay, I mean, I don't even know if that is making that much of a difference, to be honest. Something is going to happen, I believe, in the future with the UFC and the pay. It's going to have to. It's almost inevitable. I'm not too sure when, but I believe that they'll probably form a union at some point and do all that stuff. Although these fighters are so poor that they're not willing to do that. They don't want to stop fighting. They're not willing to stop and do a lockout and stuff like that. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. But we'll see.
And it is. And so back to what Jake Paul said about, these guys are coming over here to fight me because they know they'll make money. It's like those guys that he's fighting, Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, those are guys that made huge money
a lot of money
in MMA. It's guys that, I'm happy they're making $500,000 to box, but those are guys that don't need it. The people that need the increase in fighter pay are the people opening up the ESPN press prelims. It's not the guys at the top of the card. Could they afford to get paid more? Absolutely.
100%.
But I'm not going to nickel and dime to get a guy from $500,000 to $750,000. I would rather see the guy that's making $50,000 to show get maybe $75,000 to $100,000 to show. That's the guys that need the fighter pay increase more than the top half.
Yeah, it's very tricky. I think it will be figured out eventually, but Dana is I don't know. He's a businessman, and he's gonna do what he's gonna do. So we'll see. I like Dana, but
yeah.
he does come off rather scummy when it comes to this stuff. So
I mean, for the most part, you have to be a scumbag to be a promoter. I feel like, in a sense, and it's not just like your Don Kings or your Dana Whites or anything. I mean, we've even seen guys that put off the positive image, and I'm not going to name names, but there are promoters out there that put on the front, but you hear about these business moves behind the scenes, and it's like, oh well, they're still scummy like the rest of the promoters. So, I mean, in a sense, you do have to be that way to be a promoter.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just there's level. Who said there's levels to this? One of the fighters. It slips my mind right now, but that's how the scumminess works in the eyes of promoters. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
We could do. Let's go ahead and move on here. Oh, real quick before we do move on, I want to say I hope at least with these Paul brothers fighting and in the Mayweather fight last night, that the guys on the undercard are getting, the proper exposure maybe to the casual fan, and that can help sell for them down the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the only reason I'm okay with these fights taking place, is that it helps the guys on the undercard sell pay-per-views in the future.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Walsh, are you muted?
No.
Walsh, you're mute. Yeah, we can't hear you, Walsh.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you might be. Doesn't say he's muted though.
No, he's. Yeah, no, nothing. Nothing from Walsh. This is going to be great. This is going to be great for YouTube. The Apple and Spotify people will not know what's going on right now, but Walsh is. Oh, he's left. I'm going to have to add him back to the stream. He's coming back in a sec. Let's go ahead and start with the UFC Vegas 28, though, Mac, before we get you out of here. We had Rosenstruck.
I got like 15, 20 minutes, so we're good.
Okay, so we got 15, 20 minutes before the Bruins lose to the Islanders and go down 3-2 in the series, folks. So let's get into UFC Vegas 28. We had Jairzinho Rosenstruck take down Augusto Sakai in the main event, buzzer beater in the first round, TKO, punches, 4 minutes, 59 seconds. I know some are saying it was questionable stoppage, myself included, but is it enough for me to sit here and dig my feet in the ground and make an argument of it? No, but it's like, I don't know. I could see why people are upset with the stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, it was it's definitely worth looking back and being like, oh, was that early? Was that the wrong call? In my opinion, I thought Augusto did go out for maybe like a second or two,
which he did.
Yeah,
he did. And no, I don't think there's any arguing that. It's the fact that he came to so quickly and was covered up that made people think, why can't this go 1 second longer? Yeah. And then he recovers going into the second round.
Was it Herb Dean? It was.
Yeah, it was Herb Dean.
Okay,
it was Herb Dean.
So yeah, I had a weird thought when I saw it. I was like, because Herb obviously in the back of his head knows that the round's about to end, and so when that happens, it's almost like, I mean, you have a split second decision to make. Do you let the bell ring or do you stop the fight? And must be very difficult to do. And so I mean that's what comes to my head when I see like a last second stoppage like that. And so it must be very difficult for Herb or any ref to be able to tell. But I do think the split second unconsciousness is worthy of being stopped. Obviously it's very unsafe to get knocked out like that, and it's not good for your brain. I mean, all signs kind of pointed if that even ended the round and they went to a second round, it seems like Rosenstruck was actually doing well. And I probably would have leaned towards Rosenstruck if the fight continued, to be honest. But big win for him. Rebound win.
It was, and I think the fact that we didn't see Augusto or his corner, at least I don't remember seeing this in the broadcast. We didn't see much of a protest. He did seem kind of out of it when he did eventually stand up. So maybe, it's one of those calls where it's like, in retrospect, that was probably the right call, knowing what we know now. But in that moment, we could all say maybe that was a little too soon. Walsh, you went right into the kickoff. Yeah, we can hear you now. You were the only one right in the pickoff this week.
Yeah,
you
and
did pick Rosenstruck.
I'm not even sure if that's happened. Honestly, I think it might have before, but I'm not too sure.
I don't think it has. I really don't think it has. So Walsh, the floor is yours to cut a promo on why you're going to be first in the UFC main event pickoff extravaganza, brought to you by Branded Sports.
All right. Well, boys, suck it. First off, absolutely suck it. Didn't even watch, by the way. Just to throw that out there. So the audience, I'm going to be completely honest with the audience. I was too busy killing it on the dance floor this weekend at a wedding, so I didn't get a chance to watch the fights.
Understandable.
But yeah, I was so confident that he was going to win that it didn't even matter to me. That's why I didn't even bother to even look up results. Nothing. I didn't even care because I knew it was going to be a win, and I knew Sunday was going to come. I was going to wake up. I was going to see it and be at the top of the leaderboard this week with the only one that got it right. So I'm just saying, positive vibes only. We're rolling here. We're rolling.
It was a good call.
You think you're running away with it, but no, I'm out here hanging around.
I mean,
all right? Don't let me hang around. Don't let Walsh get hot.
Hey, we got a big weekend with three.
Yeah,
picks
that's the thing. We have three. So this
big one.
We could possibly bury Walsh this weekend with our 3 fights. So let's just. We're not going to let this positivity vibes only, whatever the hell you're talking about, last too long. But I will tell you what, Walsh, you earned it today. You earned it like a motherfucker today. So
Thank you.
You bask in that glory today because your time is coming to an end.
Well, no, it's not. And I would just like to give a special shout out to all the fans out there that have had me as number one in their hearts because that's what this is really about. As long as I'm number one in the fans' hearts, the standings really don't matter. At the end of the year, the fan vote is what counts the most. And I do this for the people. And the people love me. I love the people. So, it'll be great at the end of the year when I'm number one in the pickoff extravaganza and number one in the fan voting. So, looking forward to that day. So, thank you those things, you Walsh reporters out there.
One of those things will happen, the other will not. And actually, I do want to give myself a pat on the back for all the number ones I was able to put ourselves in today. I gave myself number one tourist, pound for pound. Mac is number one Scally Cap owner, and then Walsh is the number one fan favorite. Of course, if you want to see what we tweet about those, go follow us on Twitter at Branded MMA. If you're watching on YouTube, it's in the bottom right corner. Go follow that, guys. In the main event, we had Marcin Tybura take down Walt Harris. 4 minutes. Co-main event, 4 minutes 6 seconds in round 1. Just a gut-wrenching loss. I mean, it's not fun to watch Walt Harris lose like that. And I wanted to make sure I got my notes right here before we actually started the show today. He has not won a fight since the tragic incident surrounding his stepdaughter. And some people may say that plays a factor. I do think it does. It's definitely a hard mental hurdle to overcome. Part of me doesn't want to see him fight again. I know he's lost to guys that are in the top 10, I believe Tybura is number 11. So these aren't losses to scrubs, but it's just heavyweight's not a deep division for you to fight out of the top 15 too far down. Part of me just thinks this guy would be a great ambassador for the sport. Why not keep him on in that role? Maybe even try him as an analyst. I think there's plenty of avenues to keep Walt Harris around and utilize him because I can't watch this anymore with him losing like this given the circumstances.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, I think, he's articulate in his interviews. He's very good at speaking. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in some sort of analyst role in the future. I would love for them to keep him on to see. He's lost 3 in a row. He's still. I'm sure he's going to drop. He'll probably drop to 11. He might swap spots with Tybura, I would assume, maybe. Yeah. So he might still be ranked after this one, maybe. Like you said, heavyweight's not the deepest division, so you can lose 3 straight and still be ranked somehow. But he's definitely going to need to win his next one for sure if he wants to at least stay in the mix in the rankings. So I think maybe that next one is going to be even more important, of course, with his back against the wall, and we'll see. But I don't mind that. If he were to somehow get cut or something, I'm not too sure what his contract is right now. Bellator's heavyweight division is, it's not too deep as well. I mean, I'd love to see him try that as well. He's still talented. How old is he? He's pretty young, I believe.
I believe he's in his mid-30s.
He's pretty old. 37. Okay, not
Yeah.
too young. But for a heavyweight, you can do that. So don't hate what you said, Chavy. I think that's actually a pretty good idea, honestly.
Yeah, Walsh, thoughts? Do you want to see Walt Harris in the cage again? Maybe hopefully get a win here and kind of build on that? Or do you think you would like to see him more as an analyst or ambassador for the sport for the UFC?
I want to see him in the cage again. I just want to root for him. He's such a good guy to root for. So it's like I don't want to see him hang him up after just losing. It happens. It's a sport. Obviously, right. It's a tough division, and you can't really afford to be losing as much as he is. But you can't sit here and say he's a bad fighter. It's just he's run into some great competition and it hasn't worked out in his favor. Maybe he needs to change something up. But I mean, I'd like to see him back in there again. I want to see him get a win, because that is just originally going to be like when he gets that first win, it's going to be an emotional win.
Yeah,
it's going to be an emotional, and I think hopefully if he does fight again, it's going to be in front of a full crowd. I think as we get closer to the pandemic being over, we're going to see less and less of these empty arena shows like we just saw the other night, and so the roof would come off that place. So I guess I'm in the same boat with you guys, but I do think him as an analyst would thrive in that role. I know we've seen a rotating door of fighters try it out, whether it's on the Fox days or now on ESPN. So it wouldn't hurt to see that. So let's go ahead and move on here to the rest of the main card here before we talk about a fight that I personally want to see going forward. We had in the middleweight division, Roman Dolidze take down Loreno Staropoli via unanimous decision, 30-27 across the board. And in a fight of the night, we had Santiago Ponzinibbio take down Miguel Beza via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Max
I did call the fight of the night. I called it.
You did. You did call fight of the night on there. Mac did not win the pickoff, but he won the prediction of fight of the night, which does nothing for our standings, but it's still pretty cool nonetheless. Still impressive.
Nope.
Still impressive.
Not really. Not giving you credit. Nope.
Victory.
And if there's only a couple fights you want to watch from this card, I would say the main event and co-main event, and then obviously Ponzinibbio versus Beza. It was fight of the night. It was a very good fight if you want to go back and watch that if you didn't watch the card this weekend. In the middleweight division, we had Gregory Rodriguez defeat Dusko Tordovic via unanimous decision. And opening the main card, we had a women's flyweight match. Montana De La Rosa defeated Ariana Lipski by TKO, 4 minutes, 27 seconds into round two. Tom Breese had an undisclosed medical issue just before the start of the main card, so that's why he was not fighting in the main card Saturday night. Let's move on to the prelims real quick. Ilir Latifi takes down Tanner Boser in a heavyweight fight via split decision. Welterweight,
which hey, real quick though, with the Ariel Latifi, there was a certain someone that had a can't lose, won't lose parlay. Latifi was in there.
See, I need to send you the things that we need to tweet out when the can't lose, won't lose parlay hits. I have those videos locked and loaded, and I always forget them.
We're so close every time. Actually, hold on. Let me take a look at how we lost it this time. Because again, like I said, I was in. All right, so we lost it because of Walt Harris and Dusko.
Okay,
but other than that, two out of four.
2 out of 4 is not bad. I tell you what, if I got that on a math test in like second grade, I'd be coming home and probably proud of that. But my parents would say, obviously, there's a reason you failed that test. You don't realize 2 out of 4 is bad. But
if I did that in college, I'd be happy.
I'd be happy with that too.
Sure.
Welterweight, we had Muslim Salikov defeat Francisco Trinaldo via unanimous decision. Featherweight, we had Camelia Kirk take down Makwan Amarikani via unanimous decision. Alan Patrick over as Mason Jones, no contest due to an accidental eye poke. Women's flyweight, Manon Fiorot defeats Tabathia Ritchie via TKO 3 minutes into round 2. Sean Woodson in a featherweight battle takes down Yosef Zayal via split decision. And to open the fight night, we had Claudio Puelles take down Jordan Leviat in the lightweight division via unanimous decision across the board. Like I said, overall, it's probably only 3 fights from this card. You can go back and watch if you missed this. Ponzinibbio, and then Tybura and Rosenstruck. But Mac, real quick here before we let you out of here, because I know time is a little bit of a factor for you here with the Bruins on tonight. We do have 2 people that fought Saturday night that could fight each other and possibly bolster their selves to a title eliminator fight. Marcin Tybura is won 5 straight. That includes Greg Hardy, Walt Harris, Ben Rothwell. He's ranked 11. We have Rosenstruck, who is, like you said, rebounded after a loss to Cyril Gain. He is still up there in the division. Do we see these 2 fight in a future fight night?
So honestly, it's not something I thought about, but when you bring that up, it makes complete sense. They just fought on the same card, so they're both going to be ready to go in a few months, and that makes sense. I would assume Tybura jumps to the 8 spot, and Harris falls back, like I said. Jairzinho might stick at 6. I'm actually blanking on the people above Jairzinho and what their situation is right now, so kind of blanking on that.
I'm gonna go ahead and rattle them off for you because I actually did look this up before I recorded. We're gonna see obviously Ngannou at champion, Stipe 1. Then I believe, oh shit, how do I not forget who's 2? Derek Lewis 2, excuse me.
Yeah,
and then I believe Cyril Gain is 3.
Yeah, I got the rankings here.
Yeah, so I don't know about the 4 and 5. I'm drawing Volkov.
Well, yeah, you got Blades and Volkov. So Jairzinho said he wanted someone that was ranked ahead of him. So
he's not getting that.
Yeah, and understandably so. I think the best thing for Jairzinho is probably to fight Tybura and get another win under his belt. He's still pretty new to the game, honestly. I mean, he's only had I think 13 professional fights, or 14, 12-2. So I mean, he's been in the UFC for a couple years now, but it takes time, man. It's going to take time, and I think he is obviously very dangerous with his hands. He's very powerful, as we know. So if he can get that Tybura fight, win that, then he can get a top 5, I think.
Yeah, because, I mean, like we said, I know we talked about in the preview show, this is a guy who was 4 seconds away from losing a decision to Alistair Overeem. He was starched by Francis Ngannou, did beat Junior Dos Santos, but he did obviously lose that 5-round fight to Cyril Gain. So realistically, you're looking at a guy that should be 2-3 in his last 5. He's 3-2. Rotating wins and losses, though, it's hard to justify fighting above you. So, like you said, I think activity is what benefits him here. Is just taking as many fights as possible, winning them in dramatic fashion, and then getting a reason to fight someone above him. Walsh, are you in the same boat with this Rosenstruck situation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's ready for that title shot fully yet. So just get another couple fights under your belt, get into that main spot, and just put together a couple wins here. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's probably the move for him there. So we'll see where he goes next. I have to think of main eventing of fight nights in his future. They seem to love him as a main event fighter. Yeah. So, Mac, anything else here before we let you sign off for the Bruins game tonight?
No, it was an interesting weekend with the Logan and Floyd fight. I'd say if I had to describe it in one word, it would be disappointing. I thought Floyd would maybe try a little harder, but evidently no, which is okay. Certified bank robbery is exactly what it was, and I hope people kind of learn their lesson if they bought that fight. And at the end of the day, Jairzinho Rosenstruck should be the biggest winner of this weekend because he actually fights and he's in the cage and he's risking his life, and he should be getting paid more than both those gentlemen. So I'm pumped for this weekend. Pumped for this weekend, and I'm pumped to preview this big card in a couple days here. So I'll see you fellas in a couple days.
Yep. Follow Mac on Twitter at Ryan McCarthy 10. That's MACCARTHY 10. And if you're leaving the show now because Mac is now leaving the show, tune in for the Branded Sports show where we preview UFC 263. That should be coming out Friday morning. Mac, go Bruins.
Go Bees, baby. Woo!
I don't know if this helps, Mac, but I bet on the Bruins tonight. So
All right.
good luck.
That helps.
No, I don't think I don't think it does. But we'll see.
All right, fellas.
Mac, we'll see you later.
Farewell.
Oh man, I don't think that helps. I don't think that
I don't
helps at
know.
all. I
listen,
don't know.
I will say I've been decent these last couple days, gambling wise. So,
But you just said you went 2 of 4 on your parlay. You can't. That's like
okay,
that's
still two wins.
That's 2 wins and 2 losses. That's breaking even.
Yeah, but then I hit a couple other bets, so we're ahead. We're up right now.
Okay. Well, I did not know about those previously.
Yeah.
You just need to send us your sheet. Every time you make a bet, send it in the Branded MMA group chat, and then we can know for reference, so we can say whether or not you're hot or cold. That's what you have to do. And I believe Walsh has muted himself and frozen. That is quite the scene right now. So I'm going to carry the show solo now that I lost 2 of my fellow Branded MMA crew here. So we'll move on to some news here. Ariel Helwani comes out. His last day with ESPN is June 15th. I believe it's all but confirmed he is heading to the Action Network. For those of you that don't know, that's also where Darren Ravel works. I don't know a lot about them content-wise, and that's where I'm assuming that's the role he's going to be doing. That is kind of a strange move, but obviously if he's going there, they paid him a lot of money because this is a guy that NBA was a huge. There's Walsh. There's Walsh here. All right.
I don't know what's going on. My laptop keeps shutting down on me here. I don't know what's going on. This isn't good.
That's a little sus spot. Just to catch you up to speed here. I am talking about Ariel Helwani leaving ESPN on June 15th. That will be his last day. He is rumored to be going to the Action Network. You may know a little bit more about the Action Network than I do, with yourself being a gambler. Do you know anything about them?
I've heard of them.
Okay.
But I'm not super familiar with them. I see them on social media every now and then. But yeah, I wouldn't say I know too much of them. And listen, there's rumors he might even be coming with us. He's been rumored that he wanted to join the Branded MMA Show. So we don't really know exactly what his next move is going to be. I'm not going to sit here and say that we've had talks with Ariel, but our people have reached out to his people, and we're in the mix of something, but we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I was just saying it's weird to see him leave ESPN because he's obviously had his hands in a lot of different cookie jars there between his show with Daniel Cormier, and then I believe before that it was with Chael Sonnen that covered MMA. This guy was a sideline reporter for basketball, which is, if you follow him on Twitter, that's one of his favorite sports outside of MMA. So It's just kind of weird to see him kind of take all that and say, I'm not going to do it anymore. I know there was a huge article that came out about contract negotiations with him, and maybe they weren't paying him what he thought he was worth. So if he's going to go secure the bag at the Action Network, I get that. I just don't get these companies shelling out huge amounts of money, the gambling companies shelling out huge amounts of money to get these personalities there. Because, people will move with them or migrate with them to listen to them on a different platform. But does that really turn them into gamblers? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I just don't see the win for Action Network here, but it's a big win for Ariel if he's getting paid. So good on him for getting the bag. I'm
interested to see what will happen with the show. DC is more than capable of carrying that show himself. I think personally, but I'll be interested to see who, if anybody, they bring in to kind of replace Ariel there.
Yeah, obviously someone that I don't watch a lot, but I know they are popular, that is already contracted, that would probably be like the next biggest name would be Brendan Shaw, but he's obviously with Showtime and he's thriving there.
Could be Paul Felder maybe too.
Paul Felder, we could see that. There's a lot of names that could come out and be on that show if they want to continue with it. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of someone wanting to secure the bag, we have Paul Acosta out of the UFC main event fighting with Jared Cannonier. And no, it's not due to wine this time. Apparently, he's claiming he never signed a contract for the fight. And the UFC announced the fight in hopes that they could push him into a corner here to get him to sign to fight for less money. Otherwise, his reputation would be hurt in the eyes of the fans if people think he's ducking Cannonier. I don't know if we're ever going to figure out without concrete proof one way or the other of how this is going down. But
Yeah.
I will say I did look up Paulo Costa's last confirmed payday, which again, this isn't even really confirmed because we do not get to see fighter pay directly from the UFC. It's all kind of reported through the Athletic Commission. Paulo Costa's last known payout was $120,000, which included a $60,000 win bonus versus Yoel Romero at UFC 241, which was the fight that catapulted him into title contention and got him his shot against Adesanya. So it's one of those situations where we get back to what we talked about earlier, fighter pay. Obviously, we want fighters to get paid more. I do think $60K, if he would have lost that fight, that's a little shitty of him to get paid $60K for what was a marquee fight on that card. That was one of the top selling points for people to tune in, along with I believe it was Stipe and Daniel Cormier. So I get where he's coming from, and we don't see what his payout was against Israel Adesanya. That was a closed door event in, I believe, Dubai, so we're not going to see the payout there. But I have to think if they're going to go back to this 60-60 frame for his fight, I don't blame him for not pulling out of that fight. I feel like he has elevated himself through the trash talk in the fight with Adesanya. The lead up to the fight, I do think, and obviously they're putting him in the main event for a reason. He is a marketable name. So if they were going to go back to that 60-60, I don't blame him for pulling out of the fight and renegotiate. You can't pull out of a fight that you never signed for. So I don't blame him for coming out and saying this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if that's what it is, then fine. I get it. But it does it feels like he is dodging some people. So I don't really know. I don't know if I fully believe the sincerity of that.
Yeah, it is kind of weird because this is the same guy that said he was hungover for the Adesanya fight, and that's what he lost. So, right. I mean, like I said, and without concrete proof one way or the other, we're not going to be able to form an opinion, but we will play devil's advocate for both. So, like Walsh said, we could possibly see him ducking the top opponents of the middleweight division, or we could see the UFC trying to back him into a corner and make him fight for less money than what he got in his last fight. So we don't know until something comes out about that. So we'll just, like I said, play both sides until we hear otherwise. We also want to end today's show with a today in MMA history. For those that don't know, June 8th, 2019, I'm going to paint a picture for you. We're at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. UFC 238 is going down. The main event is Henry Cejudo versus Marlon Morales for the vacant bantamweight title. We have Henry Cejudo coming off the knockout of TJ Dillashaw to start the ESPN Plus era. He defends his flyweight title. He's looking to become a two-time champion. And that ended up being probably the most exciting fight on the card. But Walsh, a lot of people probably wouldn't think that was the case before the fight started, because you had Tony Ferguson versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone on that card. And if we were doing a preview show for that, I think we'd all be in unanimous agreement that would be the fight of the night, undisputed. Yeah. That would be 30-27 across the board from all of us saying that's fight of the night. But hey, Cejudo and Morales put on a banger of a bantamweight match. So we had that. And we had Valentina Shevchenko. This was a 2-title fight card, 3 if you include the flyweight championship that Cejudo was carrying to the octagon. Mm-hmm. We had Valentina Shevchenko viciously KO Jessica Evil Eye. It was one of the most brutal head kick knockouts you'll see in recent memory. That's one that's going to be on the highlight reels for years to come. And lot of go ahead, Walsh.
Was this the one Ferguson Cowboy? This is the one Cowboy blew his nose, right? And
blew his nose in between rounds, and it just instantly swelled up. And he knew at that point he fucked up, and the fight was going to get called.
Yep. Yeah.
So we had that. We had a couple notable names on this card, whether it was the main card and the undercard. So we had Cejudo and Morales. We had Shevchenko, Tony Ferguson, Donald Cerrone. We had Peter Yan, future and now former bantamweight champion. Although I think it's safe to say he'll probably win the rematch. So let's just call him future champ.
Love that.
We'll do that. And then we had Aljamain Sterling, Pedro Munoz on the prelims fighting each other, which Sterling won the unanimous decision, 30-27. And we had Mac's probably favorite fighter behind Conor McGregor, Calvin Kattar, KO Ricardo Lamas, really put himself on the map here. That was a marquee victory for him, kind of getting into where he is now. So that's I believe that it's on UFC Fight Pass. I don't believe it is on ESPN Plus. But if it is, go watch the main card. You won't be disappointed. It's a nice little trip down memory lane. Even if it was 2 years ago, it was a full arena. So if you need to get adjusted and acclimated to that before we get into UFC 263 and onwards, go watch that card. It's a great card to watch. And let me see. Do I got anything else tonight? It looks like I don't, folks. So Walsh, let's see. What do you got? What we got from you tonight? What do you want to end the show on?
Yeah, fuck the Paul brothers. That's what I would like to end the show on because they're absolute clowns. Stop paying attention to them, people. Please.
Yeah,
that's what I ask.
Yeah, including us. I mean, we can't stop paying attention to them until you stop paying attention to them because we're like first responders. You know, you keep getting yourselves in car wrecks, we're gonna have to keep getting the jaws of life out to save you. Stop making us use the jaws of life. Our arms are starting to hurt. Our shoulders are hurting. So please stop caring about the Paul brothers, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I've got sunburn, and the last thing I want to do is talk about the fucking Paul brothers again. So just enough.
As someone that has just recently overcame severe sunburn, I want to say thoughts and prayers go out to Walsh.
I thought I was tougher than the sun, and kids wear sunblock. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I will say maybe to cure it, drink a high noon. I did drink those for the first time this weekend, and those were phenomenal.
Yeah, I did. You had a solid Instagram story.
Yeah, it was a prospect of paid ad advertising for my Instagram to try to get them to sponsor me because they were good. They went down. They tasted exactly like soda. There's no alcohol in it. That's a bad thing to do.
That's true.
But it's also really good. So I'm in a catch-22.
Yep.
But that's going to do it for this edition of the Branded MMA Show. Remember, if you're listening to us on iTunes, rate, review, subscribe, repeat. If you're listening on Spotify, please throw us a follow. Again, that is the Branded MMA Show. Just search it on there. You will find us. And remember, every follow on Spotify matters. And also, every follow matters on Twitter. Don't be afraid to follow us at Branded MMA. So for Mac, who's going to go watch the Bruins, for Walsh, who's going to watch the Bruins as well because he bet on them, I'm Chavy, who's going to make dinner and then play MLB The Show. 13, of course, it's the best year to play on my PS3. I'm Chavy saying good night and good fight.